What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Rise and Rush podcast, your Sunday morning kickoff show. I am here alongside Sir Angry John and Sir Luca for this morning's show. But with that being said, got some game previews to kick in, got some fantasy, got some betting advice as per usual on this Sunday morning. I didn't even know we had a London game until Sir Angry John told me, so that's of news. But Angry John, I'll start, and because Luca had to do something or whatever, he had to abandon us. I'll let you maybe vent a little bit on the news we saw in the chat, thanks to Sir A-Bomb.
Well, I mean, what else do I even have to say with the Jets? But first off, that's Professor to you and everyone else.
Oh, okay.
And second off, what up, y'all? I really don't even want to harp on Zach Wilson anymore. I'm kind of like a beaten down, broken person at this point. So the fact they didn't even offer Carson Wentz a contract is just pathetic, in my opinion. It's just pathetic. But we'll worry about that more tomorrow on tomorrow night's show. After I guarantee you the Jets will probably lose out the rest of the year. I don't want to pick them to win anymore. But nevertheless, we do got the game previews. We got the fantasy football advice. We got the betting advice. So stay tuned all for that. And let's pray for a good football Sunday. Don't know where Luca went, but
yeah. So I know that John's probably questioning, Alex, why are you wearing the Giants hoodie and you're upset with your team? Well, that's specifically because I know in my heart that they're going to do the thing I want them to do, and that's
which is tank.
It's exactly. It's a part of the tanking process. So I know that they're going to do what I want. Mm-hmm. That's all fine and well. But again, folks, if you haven't already, share out, like, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. As I said, we know that the London game is going to be on. It's going to be, I would say, a rather defensive battle between the Colts. And
it is London, correct? I forgot. They play in so many different parts now. It doesn't feel special anymore.
I think they only do one in Germany.
Okay, I don't even remember at this point.
Whenever Luca decides to come back, he comes back. But I ought to prop this up for Sir Angry John.
Mm-hmm. Are we starting? Or
I guess we could start.
All right.
Oh, here he is. We're about to start. He's right here.
Go ahead. Let this man talk.
First thoughts. Hope everybody's well on this Sunday morning. Can't wait to get into all the games, the betting advice, and fantasy advice as usual. So go football. Happy NFL Sunday, everybody.
And nothing on the Jets?
This is an NFL show. I will not waste my breath on such garbage. I can't do that. I can't.
Perfect response.
I want to be fair to everybody. But
Luca's headline says JETS Jets.
If they lose tomorrow, if they lose tonight, just be ready. That's all I'm going to say.
Because the rant is coming. But John, if you want to start us off with the first preview, and I have added up all the predictions.
You want to share them before we?
Oh, you want to share them now? I thought we would do
it. We could share them now. I mean, they mentioned it.
Okay, so John, me and you have to do a lot better.
Okay.
Because the way the points are, it's very one-sided.
Toward Luca?
John 16.5, Alex 20, Luca 23.5.
Jesus. All right, so I'm losing in both right now.
Yeah, we gotta pick it up.
All right. Well, nevertheless, the game I've chosen for the week to preview, the non-New York game, Saints-Vikings. Storylines coming in. Well, can the Saints keep up their good momentum and get out of their own way? I mean, obviously, they had the win last week against the Bears. 2 games in a row, they've won now. Although some off-the-field noise again this week, the Michael Thomas incident with another receiver on this team involved in a police incident. Already we had Jimmy Graham and Chris Olave with an issue. It seems like I don't know, any receiver that Derek Carr has. I was making a joke about this yesterday to someone. Any receiver Derek Carr has, they find some sort of police trouble.
It seems like it, unfortunately.
Yeah, we most notably the Henry Ruggs and Antonio Brown, because remember Antonio Brown was a Raider at one point.
And Antonio Brown is a clown.
Yes, he is. Big clown. And then coming into the Vikings, how about coming off a huge win with Josh Dobbs at the quarterback spot? So, man, what a win he had last week as the Vikings look to continue that momentum. Obviously, no more Kirk Cousins, but Josh Dobbs is here to save the day, I guess, in Miniland. So, before we go into a little bit of the preview, I do have the team stats. So, for the Saints, 10th in passing offense, rushing offense ranks 18th, points 13th, and then their defense, 7th in passing defense, 17th in rushing defense, but 7th in points defense. For the Vikings, 2nd in passing offense. Now, I imagine a lot of that was with Kirk Cousins. Rushing offense, 29th, points 15th. Then passing defense, 18th, rushing defense, 12th, and points 17th. So, big game for both teams. Obviously, Vikings and Saints. Well, the Saints are trying to uphold their division lead, and the Vikings are fighting for their own playoff spot as they sit second behind the Detroit Lions. As so, we look into it today. I did mention the news with Michael Thomas, which I am going to preview him a little bit, but for those who don't know, basically, I don't know if anyone doesn't know the story of what happened, but it seems like the Saints have had off the field issues, and I don't know why, but anyone wants to know the story? Well, I mean, Graham had it was a medical issue. Olave was it was a DUI, if I'm not mistaken, or driving under the influence or whatever they called it. And Michael Thomas, so for anyone who doesn't know, he lives in a gated community, right? And I think he had an issue with some construction workers poking around his house and his car or something like that. And he decided to throw 2 bricks at a vehicle and shove a man.
So he's going to play today?
What he will be playing today.
Of course he will.
There's no word yet if any charges are being pressed, but it does say Michael Thomas is going to play today. So, but still, I mean, come on now. And, you know, we'll go into that bad, but how about we'll go move into something good. The Saints defense, most notably their secondary play has been elite, in my opinion. Last week, their corner, Paulson Adebo, was named NFC Defensive Player of the Week coming into this week, so congrats to him. He's really had an excellent season. He's got 4 picks on the year, which is tied amongst all cornerbacks with Cowboys cornerback DaRon Bland. You know, and this is his second season. This is like his good enough for a second in the league, I should say. So he has been a phenomenal number 2 corner behind Marshawn Lattimore, because he's been, you know, not only is he flying around in the passing game, but I think he also recovered a fumble as well last week. So he has been a sensation. And we'll do a little trivia. Does anybody know so Adebo became the 5th player to accomplish that stat line since 2000 with the 2 picks and the forced fumble. He had 7 tackles and 3 pass defense. Anyone know the last player to do that? He's a Hall of Famer.
I'm going to go Ed Reed.
Okay.
Alex. He's just
I was on mute. Did a Brian there. Is it a safety or is it a corner? Because Luca went for a safety.
Is a corner.
Darrell Revis.
So both of you are incorrect. That player was in 2009 Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson. So again, you got him and Lattimore both on one side. Both been excellent in the pass game this year. Hence why I said the Saints have the 7th best pass defense in the NFL. And with Adebo, I really believe he's at an all-pro level, just because he has been locking down that whole side of the field. So it's good to see him take a huge jump in that passing game. And then, you look back to that Bears game. It might have been one of the better performances of the year from a corner. And that is the Saints' strong suit. They're going to try and force you to pass the ball because they have many ball hawks. Obviously, they also got Marcus May, who had a pick last week, the former Jet. Seems like everyone's a former Jet nowadays. But that is what's going on for the Saints. And then you look into the Minnesota matchup, and, obviously I mentioned the Kirk Cousins thing, which really did not help them out. But there are a lot of players that Minnesota has been good. And you know what? We'll start off with Josh Dobbs, who, as of now, I guess you could say, Kirk Cousins officially done for the year. Now, Josh Dobbs is a capable backup in this league. He proved he can play decent in Arizona, and he proved that he can win games like last week in Minnesota. So they still have a fighting chance for a playoff. I wouldn't say they're a Super Bowl team, but they still have a fighting chance for a playoff spot. And then, you look at this offense around him, Alexander Madison really has really struggled in the run game. As I mentioned, the Vikings have struggled 29th in the rushing attack, which is really not good. They brought in Cam Akers, who looked like the better running back, but unfortunately he's on IR with a ruptured Achilles. So you can kiss that out the way. And they're going to still try and figure that out. But also, you move over to the defense. The Vikings have been, they had a really slow start, but now they're playing much better, and that's why they're middle of the pack. They were one of the worst defenses amongst the league under Brian Flores at first, and now it's starting to turn around.
They blitz the most as well.
Yes, they do. I was just about to mention they really like to send the blitz and the heat out at times under Flores. But there's been some good play. Guys like Jordan Hicks, the linebacker, has had a really good season. The rookie, Ivan Pace Jr., another guy who's been very good. He had a good game against the Bears as well. Hicks is actually on pace for a career high in tackles and has not looked like a liability at all. So I believe he has a contract up next year. So the Vikings might want to bring him back. And then in terms of that receiver group, we'll go back to the offense real quick because I did miss a note. No, obviously Justin Jefferson still. I believe that Jordan Addison, I believe he was listed as doubtful. I don't know if they have officially ruled him out. If someone does want to check that for me.
I'll do that.
But KJ Osborne has been a really solid surprise for the Minnesota Vikings. He's been a really good third receiver. He might have to be their first or second. Because it's going to be him and TJ Hawkinson that are going to see a lot of targets. And then, if anyone has those fantasy questions, again, they'll be seeing a lot of the targets. So that is going to play a huge role for the Vikings in that offense. But we also need to take a look at the big team matchup here before I get into the player matchups. And we mentioned that Viking. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying what's up to Classy Nasty in the chat.
What is up, man? Yeah, show me the money. Yes, we'll get to there, man. He knows we've been hitting, man. We've been hitting. And by the way, Thursday. So I am a clown because my bet did hit, but I had it at 13.5, and actually Hurst had 14. So I was right. I just accidentally gave you the wrong number, but I was still right.
Yeah,
So,
at least you were right. At
You
least
were worrying a little bit for no reason.
Well, I still had good reason to worry. I barely won.
It only took 2 receptions for him to make the mark.
It took a long time for those damn 2 receptions too. But the bigger matchup here is, Alex mentioned that the blitz that Brian Flores against that struggling Saints offensive line that's had some real problems. And Derek Carr, he's really not necessarily a mobile quarterback. He can move, but he's not really mobile. But they need to make it as uncomfortable for him as possible because against the blitz, Derek Carr, his completion percentage has dropped from 67% to 62% against the blitz. So they need to, create pressure and either try and force incompletions or turnovers, because we know that Carr isn't a mobile quarterback. And Minnesota, they actually lead the league in blitz rate. But they only have the 13th most sacks. So they get a lot of hurries and stuff like that, but they just don't finish the job. Yet so close, but never finish, I guess.
Who does that sound like?
That was the I was wondering if anyone could get that reference. Thank you, Alex. But just before we get into the preview matchups, the other guy I did want to talk about, I know he was listed as doubtful as Luca. Did you find out about Jordan Addison?
I still haven't found out anything yet. It seems like I think his name is Jordan Seifert or Adam Seifert for Kevin Seifert for the Minnesota Vikings. Seems like he's listing, like, he hasn't made an official declaration, but it seems as like he could be the one. He could be playing.
Okay, well that's a good sign. So then they'll have him. He's had an excellent rookie season this year. Alex, remind me, did you like him in the draft?
Yeah, I was a fan of his. I think we did I'm pretty sure, if not, it was just me individually, but I'm pretty sure I did a film session on him.
Okay. Well, he's been their second best wideout other than Justin Jefferson, but Justin Jefferson's no longer here, like I said. Jordan Addison in his last 4 games has got 22 receptions, 284 yards, and 4 touchdowns. So he's not the I guess superstar receiver that Justin Jefferson is, but he is a big game player. Okay, and again, no more Kirk Cousins throwing for him, so the attention is on Jordan Addison. He's other than T.J. Hockenson in terms of the wide receivers, he is their best receiver, and he is a contender for offensive rookie in the year. So I did want to just make note of that, but we will get into 2 real key player matchups before we do the position battles. The first matchup, Michael Thomas versus Caleb Evans. Okay. Michael Thomas has been, I'd say, their second best receiver. Remember, this guy used to be a top of the league receiver. A lot of those slant routes used to go to him when Drew Brees was playing and other quarterbacks were playing. But it's a little different now for Michael Thomas so far. He's got 38 receptions, 439 yards, which is pretty okay for a second receiver on the team. Unfortunately, he only has 1 touchdown, though, so they need to try and figure that out more in the red zone, because the Saints have struggled in the red zone this year. And, the thing is, Michael Thomas, it seems like he's tailed off a little bit. The catch percentage is down. The yards per game is down to 48.8 a game. So, again, maybe he's also lost a step because he's 30 now, so that is something to keep note of. But Caleb Evans, second-year corner for Minnesota, okay. In pass coverage, he's given up 72.9% completion percentage. So, again, that's Like, there's guys that are worse. There's guys that are better. He's also had a missed tackle percentage of 11% and a passer rating allowed of 119.4. So again, that's going to be a huge matchup. They're obviously going to focus a lot on Chris Olave. Can they win that matchup, the Saints, and try and take advantage of the veteran over the second-year corner? The other guy I wanted to talk about, the other important matchup, this is the opposite side of the ball for each team. Left tackle Christian Darrisaw against their best pass rusher, Carl Granderson. Okay, Christian Darrisaw, he was actually out last week. He got injured, and David Quessenberry had to fill in that win. And not only did Quessenberry fill in, but he was lights out. He was their best offensive lineman last week. He only allowed 1 pressure. Okay, so shout out to him, as I was just fixing a page in the Book of Wonder. But David Quessenberry stepped in. Christian Darrisaw has been really excellent. He's only given up 2 sacks all season. He's only given up had 2 penalties all season. So when he's played, he's an elite tackle at this position. Carl Granderson, their leading sack man at 5.5 right now. That's the highest he's ever had. So in his career. So he's already eclipsed that mark. It's his 5th season in the National Football League. Okay. He's also had 7 quarterback knockdowns, 15 pressures, and 2 hurries. So again, he's had a really solid season as their best pass rusher. They need a little more help around him, but he's done a very solid job. And I think, Christian Darrisaw coming back, if whatever team wants to win that matchup battle, it's not going to be pretty because Josh Dobbs can run. He is a very mobile quarterback. He is someone that likes to run. So they got to try and force him, they got to contain the pocket. And I think that matchup at that spot is going to be huge. Now I'm going to move into the position battles amongst this group. The quarterback I gave to the Saints. I think Derek Carr is starting to find his chemistry a little bit, and I think he's been much better. The running back, Alvin Kamara, coming back from suspension, has helped the Saints. I feel he's been a better receiver than a rusher because they like to do a lot of those short dump offs, and Kamara is a guy who can make men miss in the backfield. All right, even though he's a bit older, he still has those moves. In terms of the wide receiver group, I'm giving my edge to the Saints only because the Vikings are a little bit banged up in the area. Chris Olave has been targeted a lot, but production hasn't necessarily been there like last year. You got Still Thomas, Rashid Shaheed has been an okay third receiver, so that is my vote there. In terms of the tight end, I gave it to TJ Hawkinson. I think Hawkinson's probably a top 3 or 4 tight end in this whole league. Never really understood why the Lions got rid of him. I know they have Sam Laporta now, but I really like TJ Hawkinson. I think he probably is today's best weapon, maybe other than Kamara amongst any team.
I don't think they wanted to pay him.
Probably. You're probably correct on that, but he's still a really good tight end. He's someone you should want to pay. In terms of the offensive line, I got to give the edge to the Vikings because they were probably, they've been a real excellent group. They even traded away Garrett Bradbury, not Garrett Bradbury, Ezra Cleveland, the guy I wanted on the damn Jets, but apparently those guys aren't available, right, Luca? No. Anyway, and they've had Christian Darrisaw as their left tackle. Dalton Risner has stepped in as one of their starters now. O'Neill's been their other tackle. They've had some injuries, but when healthy, they're a top 5-10 offensive line unit in the league. And the Saints have had issues at tackle. I mean, it's just been a mess out there for the Saints at times. So move on to the defense. The defensive line, I gave the edge to the Saints. I really like Carl Granderson, like I mentioned. Another guy that hasn't really had the biggest year, but it seems like he's still making good plays is Cam Jordan. He's been still getting the pressure. He's a veteran now, but also, the Saints, they're okay. They're average. I said, remember, 17th against the run. That could be better, but they got Nathan Shepard, the former Jet. Kalen Saunders is there up the middle to help that run out. They also drafted Brian Brissy in the first round, and Malcolm Roach is a rotational guy as well. So they're going to try their best to stop that, take another weakness out against the Minnesota because we know they can't really run the football this year. And then you look at sorry, I have to pull this back up. The inside linebacker group, I gave that edge to the Saints. Demario Davis is the man. He's been another former Jet. Jesus, I'm finding all the former Jets today. But Demario Davis has been a tackling machine. Okay, his IQ, he's probably the leader of this defense. He had another excellent week last week. I believe he also had a sack. So kudos to him. Next up, the outside linebackers, giving that edge to the Vikings. Does anyone want to take a guess on who the leading sack man on the year this year is in the whole league?
Daniil Hunter.
Yeah. Anyone have that down in the preseason?
Not necessarily, no.
No,
No, I didn't. I knew coming into this though that he was the leading
Yeah.
sacker.
I think he's at 10.5. I forgot the number in front of me. I don't have it in front of me, so I could actually take a look at it really quickly. Daniil Hunter has how many sacks already? Well, that's the game long. Can I see the sacks? He got 10 sacks. So he's he's been having another Daniil Hunter type season. He's been I think Minnesota's longest tenured player, if I'm not mistaken, at the moment. I could be wrong on that, but I know this is his 8th season with them. So good to see that. The secondary, that's going to the Saints. I talked about Adebo. I talked about how good we know how good Marshawn Lattimore is. So it's going to be a real test for Dobbs and even other guys in that secondary like Marcus May, real impact players. And then the special teams, I gave that to the Saints because I believe their kicker Group A has been okay. I think he's at a 78 or 76% in terms of kicks. The punter Lou Headley has been okay as well. But I really do like Rashid Shaheed in the return game. He does have a touchdown as a return man this year. So that is the position battles. And guys, do we want to give out our stat predictions? I got to do better at this.
Yeah, well, me and you have to do better. We got to catch up to Luca. Or I'm sorry, Luca.
I could keep improving.
Well, I mean, you mean keep improving. I mean, you're in the lead.
I know, but I could expand my lead, keep getting better.
Just a score update for the Book of Wonder. The
Colts are in the lead.
Colts are in the lead 7-3 on a Jonathan Taylor touchdown.
All right, that's not good for my picks since I picked the Pats. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna get my doc up because that would be smart of me. Did I put the okay? So all right, John, if you want to start off the pack,
sure. I got the lead passer today, Derek Carr, 275 yards, a touchdown, and a pick.
All right. I'll take Derek Carr for 300 passing yards, and then I will also take him for 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
Derek Carr, 245 yards and a touchdown.
Classy says, "Wow, I didn't know there was an early game against the Colts and Pats are playing in Germany."
Yeah, they do it too. They do it way too often.
It's usually this. I would tend to guess that this is the last one for the year, but I could be.
That would make sense, honestly.
I could be wrong, but what the fuck do I know? Lead rusher.
I got Alexander Madison, 20 carries, 90 yards.
Oh, these are 2 rushing games that are not really that good. I'll take Alvin Kamara. Let me go 17 carries, 9 no, I'm not going to go 90 yards. That's copying.
No copy.
86 yards. And a touchdown. I'll throw that in too.
Screw it, I'll go Alexander Madison as well. I'm going to go 12 carries, 85 yards.
Okay. Lead receiver.
I got Alvin Kamara at that. 7 catches for 70 yards.
70 catches for 70 yards. Okay. All right. Okay. Let me take Osborne's playing.
Yes.
No? Okay, I'm going to take KJ Osborne. Actually, I might redact that because Marshawn Lattimore is playing at the top of his level. Well, I also guess it's all hoodie season. You know, we're all wearing hoods.
Because it is freezing today.
It was like 43 last night when I went out for milk. Hawkinson's not going to lead because he's got a rib injury. He's dealing with that. So that would lead me to say, you said Jordan Addison's on track to play, Luca?
It seems like they're assuming he'll play. I haven't seen an official report yet, but it could. It's
well, we're going to take
looking
it.
like it.
Let's go 7 receptions, 77 yards, and a touchdown.
In that morning game. Oh, damn it, he's got Jonathan Taylor. I'm rooting against Jonathan Taylor, and I'm rooting against the Colts defense.
So you're a Pats fan today?
No, it's just fantasy purposes. I could care less who wins the game.
Yeah, of course. Let's see. I was going to give my receiving.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I thought you did.
No worries. Receiving, I would have said Hawkinson as well. I think hold on. I'm going to go KJ Osborne.
Okay.
I'm going to say 55 yards and 4 receptions.
55 yards and 4 receptions. Okay.
In terms of the defense, the lead tackler, my former Jet, Demario Davis, will have 11 tackles today.
Okay, so I'm going to take Jordan Hicks. And I'm going to say... Let me go 9 tackles.
Give me the rookie Ivan Pace, the undrafted rookie nonetheless. I'm going to say 8 tackles. John?
Lead sack man, Daniil Hunter, 1.5 sacks today.
Okay, for me, I'm going to say... Give me Cam Jordan. Give me 1 for him. And Luca, whatever you do, please don't say Clinton Portis.
I will not say Clinton Portis.
Or Dennis Rodman.
No Dennis Rodman either. I made that mistake.
Wait. Where did Dennis Rodman come from?
So you obviously...
Oh, you didn't know?
You obviously were not here for the Spurs Knicks stream. There was a couple of times, at least 3, I think, where I called Jeremy Sochan Dennis Rodman. A, because of the hair. B, he wore the same number as Dennis Rodman when he played for the Spurs.
Alex is like...
I don't think there's a lower moment in your broadcasting career than calling Jeremy Sochan Dennis Rodman.
Listen, if you look at them, you probably couldn't
distinguish.
Well, now, I'm not saying you couldn't distinguish, but there's a similarity with the hair.
They also played in 2 different eras, but go on.
I know they played in 2 different eras, jackass.
Now you know that.
Anyways, leading sacker,
Alvin Kamara.
Where'd you come up with Alvin Kamara?
Well, you said Clinton Portis the last time, remember?
See, unlike last week where I said Clinton Portis, my head's screwed on straight. So, who's likely more to give a sack? I'm going to go somebody from the Vikings. I'm gonna try to go different here. Just going to look up the depth chart real quick. Just going to double check because you always got to double check. Yeah, you know what? I'll just go Daniil Hunter too. I think he gets a sack.
Okay.
All right. Jacob, what's up, man? Good to see you. Gang.
What's up?
All right, now I guess I'll have to write this in the book of wonder too. I'm going with the Vikings are going to win today. I got them as the winner. I got them 24-21.
Okay.
Give
me... Nah, the Vikings aren't going to be victorious for 2 straight weeks. Give me the Saints as a road favorite.
Oh. Okay.
I'll be joining Alex in that one. I'll be taking the Saints as well.
Wow, the Josh Dobbs hate.
Oh no, it's not hate. It's just I think the Saints will take. I think it's gonna be a slight margin of victory.
I think it's. I got them at 24-21. I think it's gonna be a very close game. But
that's fair.
I
don't think it's gonna be too. Go ahead.
I'm rolling with my boy Josh Dobbs.
That's fair. Listen, you're entitled to your opinion.
No, he's not.
I'm gonna say I think it's gonna be somewhat. It's not gonna be too high scoring. It's not gonna be too low scoring either. You're gonna find it right in the middle. 23-17 Saints.
Okay.
I'm going to go 24-13 Saints.
Wow. Okay. All right. All right. So you two pick the Saints, and I have the Vikings. All right. That's going to be telling in the Book of Wonder. Go Vikings. But who's got the next game? Luca, you, or Alex?
College football bombshell, Texas A&M parting ways with Jimbo Fisher, buyout $76 million. Holy crap.
I saw that this morning. So
I know Armin was sending us tweets about that. I think it was last
Did they
night.
lose last night?
I did want to mention, did anyone, I forgot the guy's name, but I was watching yesterday. Did anyone see that Washington football player who dropped it before the end
What
zone?
an idiot. Another Deshaun Jackson.
I was
what
like,
an idiot.
Yeah, I did. Was that Redunce?
No, that was a defensive player. It was
it was a
he had a
defensive
pick,
Jesus.
and I was watching it in studio,
By the way,
and we thought it was all a touchdown. Then we looked back and like, wait, did he drop it? And we were like, oh my God, what a clown.
he was a clown. Okay, John's now the infected human.
No, I'm not.
But he is, though. By the way, Jimbo Fisher, yeah, about that. I don't know who asked. Texas A&M did not lose last night, actually. So, but with that being said, Luca.
Just give me 1 second here. Just gonna throw this in. Okay, so I've picked a little bit of a gritty matchup this week. We saw this team last week. We watched this team last week. Thursday night football. Packers Steelers. I actually, it's not much of a rivalry. I kind of like this matchup. I always like when these two teams face off. The Steelers are coming off a victory. I think it was 20-16 over the Titans, if I believe. And the Packers are coming off their own victory versus the Brett Ripien led Rams. So I guess you could maybe, I'm not going to say you can call it a fluke victory. The score was 20-3 in that game. But my storyline A is, how does Jordan Love respond to a gritty Steelers defense, one of the top in the league, or at least close to that number? The Steelers are one of the fewest when they give up points per game. For the Steelers, can they build off their last offensive performance versus the Titans? And it was the first offensive performance for Matt Canada being on the sideline, and a lot of Steelers players were very doubtful of him being on that sideline. Allen Robinson said, I think there's an advantage to it. He's there, so he's talking to us. We're kind of talking through different things and stuff like that. But in the NFL setting, whether the offensive coordinator's upstairs or not, you have a ton of communication that's coming in, drive to drive, play to play, and different things like that. Of the 20, just a note, of the 20 OCs that play call, 16 operate from the sideline. Obviously, one of them includes, I almost said Randy Fichtner, Matt Canada. But I guess, that's a positive because, as Allen Robinson said, when it comes to communication, he could also, Matt Canada could also work closely with Kenny Pickett and, help pick out the errors, what Kenny Pickett is seeing, what Kenny Pickett's not seeing. So I think it's a good development tool for a young quarterback. The bad thing is, though, I don't know who commented about it, but Matt Canada, obviously not being in the booth, it's kind of bad for him because he's not seeing the defensive formations like from that huge view from the press box. So that's a little negative. But for a young rookie quarterback, second-year quarterback, that's obviously going to help out. But it's going to be very interesting. I think it's going to be somewhat a low-scoring game to open. So going with the Green Bay Packers, their passing offense ranks 22nd with 199.6 passing yards per game. That's near 200. The rushing offense ranks 22nd, 100.4 rushing yards per game. Their points per game is 20, which is right at league average, basically. Their defense has played really well despite struggling to start the season. I know Joe Barry was under a lot of fire. Passing defense, they rank 9th in the NFL, 196.1 passing yards allowed per game. The rushing defense hasn't done too well, and that's a positive for the Steelers. They rank 23rd and have allowed 124 rushing yards per game. For the points defense, what they've given up on in terms of scoring defense, they are 9th. I think I want to double check the stat. I just want to make sure I'm correct in this. I wrote down that they allowed 9.9 points per game, but I don't think that's necessarily accurate. I just want to double check my statistics. Let's see. Hold on. Statistics. NFL opposing scoring per game. Just want to check, folks. I want to be as accurate as possible. All right. So the opposing scoring per game, the Packers they're 10th.
and they 19.9 points per game. There's no way they allow 9.9 points per game. That would be quite elite, but that's not where they are. But anyways, the Pittsburgh Steelers moving to their side of the ball. Offense, they rank 24th. They're still going through the grind. 188 passing yards per game. Rushing offense, 24th. They're 90.5 rushing yards per game. Points on average, 29th, 16.6 points per game, which is technically 4 below the league average. Their passing defense hasn't been great, so that might be a potential weakness that the Packers might want to expose, especially Jordan Love, 244.1 yards allowed per game on the pass and through the air, 25th in the league, 29th in the league in the rushing game, 133.1 yards allowed per game in the rushing game. And points defense, they allow right around the league average, 20.4 points per game, ranking 12th. But just want to look at some notes here, some takeaways that I looked at. So I'm looking at Packers Central. There's 3 reasons to worry for the Green Bay Packers. The Steelers, I believe, are tied for 3rd in turnover differential, 16 takeaways. The Steelers have many ball hawks on the defense. Patrick Peterson's a ball hawk. There's plenty of other guys. I know Minka Fitzpatrick is hurt at the moment, but the Steelers know how to create turnovers, and the Packers are one of those teams, especially Jordan Love being a quarterback who's still going through the grind in his development, his career, could make some really bad decisions and force those turnovers to a hungry Steelers defense. That's how they've basically won these games with the Steelers. I also mentioned TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith applying pressure. TJ Watt's still one of the league's best pass rushers. He's a half a sack behind Danielle Hunter for the NFL lead. 7.5 sacks at home. As for Highsmith, he's also played really well. He had 14.5 sacks last season, but has 4.5 sacks now, 2 forced fumbles. In terms of PFF among edge rushers, Highsmith is 13th, TJ Watt is 9th. So it will be a huge challenge for Zach Tom, the right tackle. Tom has actually played well against bigger matchups. He's played well against Max Crosby, despite having a brace on his knee. Same thing with Danielle Hunter. He's played well against him. So Tom has really played well enough. But another mismatch that I'd like to get to that I was reading up on is obviously Jair Alexander is out and no more Rasul Douglas. So it's going to be George Pickens versus the rookie Carrington Valentine, who's actually played very well. And Corey Ballantyne is also one of the starting corners, former Giant.
I knew he was. He's both a Giant and a Jet, but I knew he was on the.
It's Valentine and Ballantyne. You obviously have to differentiate the two.
Honestly, I think the next shirt idea is we should just have former Jet and just say
former Jet,
and just you could say whatever name.
But moving to another takeaway, obviously Joe Barry feeling a lot better about his defense, but no Jair Alexander, as I said, no Rasul Douglas. George Pickens and Deontay Johnson are going to be the focal point of this offense when it comes to the passing game. Carrington Valentine, 7th round pick with 4 starts under his belt, played very well. While Pickens, I'm going to give out some stats too, but while Pickens has struggled, Pickens and Johnson are problems. Pickens had 801 yards as a rookie, but is on pace to top 1,000 yards this season. Deontay Johnson was a Pro Bowler in 2021, is coming off 88 catches in 2020, but he's starting to bounce back a little bit. He had a really good game against the Tennessee Titans, and I ended up starting him in fantasy. But just going to pull up something else here. Here's some of the Steelers' keys to victory as well. As I said, bring the heat. TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith are big in the pass rush game, 2 of the best pass rushers. Highsmith is more of a number 2 option. TJ Watt's more of a number 1, but forcing the turnovers does well. Another thing is for the Steelers, protect the ball. Don't give the Packers any more chances. I'm sure this is going to be a game about running the football for Pittsburgh, since the Packers really struggle with the run defense. So you're going to see a lot of Najee Harris, a lot of see a lot of Jalen Warren. So again, these are not 2 great rushing games, but those are 2 porous rushing defenses. And as I said, forced turnovers. Maybe Joey Porter gets an interception today. Obviously, Minka Fitzpatrick is out right now, but Patrick Peterson is also a ball hawk on the other side of the field. But again, moving to the Packers, take some shots on defense. Attack the Steelers' weaknesses. They're without Minka Fitzpatrick. Attack the linebackers. The Steelers occasionally they're a 3-4 scheme, but they run their share of cover 6, cover 4, cover 3 with the hot blitz. So take advantage. Let Jordan give Jordan Love some easy throws. Let him find the holes in the zone. Obviously, for this week Steelers defense, George Pickens I already mentioned, Najee Harris already mentioned. And I think the Steelers obviously have to focus on stopping Aaron Jones. Not a great rushing attack from either team, but let the Steelers defense key in on Jones and make Jordan Love throw the football. But next up, moving on to the top matchups, as I said, George Pickens versus Carrington Valentine, the rookie. As I mentioned, Zach Tom versus TJ Watt. And Joey Porter's going to get somewhat of a test with Christian Watson. We know Watson has the downfield speed, but Porter has to he doesn't have elite speed, but he does a really nice job of sticking with guys. But moving to the position battles, quarterback, I rank this as a draw, actually. I'm not a fan of Love. I don't think Pickett has played well this year. So I'm going to rank that as a draw. I think Pickett still could get better. Same thing with Jordan Love. But right now, they're probably close to bottom. I wouldn't say bottom 5, maybe bottom 10 in the league in quarterbacks. Moving to the rushing game.
Can't do that. 15 yards, Luca.
Can't do what?
Can't pick a draw. You got to pick one.
No. I picked a draw a few weeks ago, not in terms of quarterbacks, but I picked up a draw. I mean, they're dead even. They're dead. They're dead even. You can't really make an argument against that, to be fair, John. But anyways, moving to the rushing attack, Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon versus Najee Harris and Jalen Samuels. I'm going to take Aaron Jones and Najee Harris. Give me 1 second.
Oh, I heard a cat.
And he knows it, too. Well, folks, make sure you come in, you hit the like button, subscribe to all the good stuff. One more preview coming after this, picks and fantasy football advice. So, you know, John, I obviously looked at your best bets for today and whatnot. You know, I think you should add Giants Cowboys. Honestly,
I mean, it was something I was very.
I apologize. What's the spread in that game?
Let me see where it's moved to.
Pretty sure it's 17.5.
They were at 17.5 now. It started at 16. So
wait, hold on 1 second. John, can you please reiterate to me what that spread was again?
It started at 16. The line has moved to the Cowboys as a favorite to 17.5.
Okay, go on. But anyways, I'll move if I can. I can move back to the rushing game. As I said, I'm taking Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon over Najee Harris and Jalen Warren. I like Warren as a number 2 back, but I think Najee Harris has. There's times where he struggles. The offensive line I'd say is like mediocre, league average. But Najee Harris struggles with vision. He's more concerned about like knocking down guys and trucking them and hurdling them instead of just taking the lane upfield. So I think that's an interesting talking point. For the receivers, I'm going Pittsburgh. Allen Robinson, George Pickens, and Deontay Johnson versus Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs and Jalen Reed. I'm taking Pittsburgh all the way. Tight ends, there's not really any great tight ends. I would have picked Pittsburgh if they had Pat Fryermuth healthy. But I'm going to say Green Bay by a little bit. Luke Musgrave, I think, is starting to come on a little bit. Offensive line, I'm going to go Green Bay as well. They have some nice pieces on there. As I mentioned, Zach Tom. Josh Myers has also had a good season with pass protection. He's one of the top interior linemen when it comes to pass rush win rate. Also, they have Elton Jenkins, who's still a good piece on that offensive line. But I would say Green Bay wins that. Defensive line, I'm going Pittsburgh. Just to give you some names, there's Keanu Benton. There's also Larry Ogunjobi, who remains a constant in the pass and the run defense game. They also have Cameron Hayward and Isaiah Loudermilk. Hayward just came back from injury, so that's obviously a good sign. Inside linebackers, you obviously got for Green Bay. I believe it's Devondre Campbell as well. You look at the inside linebackers for Pittsburgh, it's TJ Watt. I'm sorry, not TJ Watt. Landon Roberts and Quan Alexander. I looked up the stat comparison. I'm going to go Green Bay by a little bit. I'm just going to double check the linebackers once again. For Green Bay, I know obviously they have Devondre Campbell, who was rumored to be traded at the deadline, but he was not. It's Campbell and Eric Wilson, the veteran, because no Quay Walker. So I'm taking Green Bay on this one. For the outside linebackers, how could you not take Pittsburgh with Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt? Probably the best pass rushing duo in the NFL. I mean, they probably are, but you also could consider
I know us Jeff fans can consider Bryce Huff and Jermaine Johnson, but I think Watt and Highsmith are miles ahead of them. No offense to them, but I know also the Packers have Rashawn Gary and Preston Smith. Those are two really good pieces, but I'm taking TJ Watt. I'm going to take the Watt Army. Secondary, I'm taking Pittsburgh. Obviously, Green Bay is a little banged up. They're starting Carrington Valentine. They also have, as I mentioned, Corey Ballantyne is one of the starters. They have Kayshawn Nixon in the nickelback area. But Steelers, they have Patrick Peterson. They're starting Joey Porter Jr., which is awesome. Shannon Sullivan has had a solid year. For the safeties, you have Keanu Neal and DeMonte Casey for Pittsburgh. Those are two solid safeties. For the Packers, it's Anthony Johnson and Jonathan Owens listed on the depth chart, so I'm taking Pittsburgh. In terms of the special teams, I'm taking Pittsburgh as well. So I think we can move into predictions. I think Jordan Love will be the leading passer in this game. I said 223 yards and a touchdown.
Sir John.
That's Professor. But anyway.
Sir, that's still respect.
Yeah, but it's Professor. Anyway.
Okay.
Give me for the lead passer. I'll say Jordan Love gets 250 yards. No touchdowns, but a pick.
I will say that Jordan Love is the leading passer, 245 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions.
Okay.
I think he does turn over the ball over.
By the way, I do need Green Bay to win this game for the tank.
Okay. Alex giving us his tank rooting guide. Okay. Anyways, leading rusher.
I mean, I think I told you guys what the teams are, right? Yeah, I told you guys on Thursday.
Yeah, I know. You're just re-mentioning it. Anyways, Najee Harris, I think he leads the rushing game. 85 yards, 13 rushes, and a touchdown.
Luca, I'm also going with the Steelers running back, but I'm going with someone on my fantasy team. Jalen Warren's going to get it, actually. 10 carries for 75 yards and a touchdown.
I wouldn't be surprised, John.
Yeah, let me go ahead and take Aaron Jones, 16 carries, 115 yards, and a touchdown.
Okie dokie. Moving on. Leading receiver. I think this guy had a big game last week. I think he's going to do the same thing, but I'll tell you this. The reason I'm putting him at this low number is, as I said, I related to the passing game not being so strong for either team, and the run defense has been porous for both teams. This guy had a big game last week. I don't think he gets a touchdown, but I think Deontay Johnson's going to put up some yards. 4 receptions, 64 yards.
Okay. I'm going with George Pickens. I'm saying he bounces back today. 6 catches, 80 yards.
I will take man, the myth, the legend, Romeo Doubs for 6 catches, 63 yards.
Next up, leading tackler, I'm taking the former Jet, Quan Alexander, 8 tackles.
These motherfucking spam bots.
Devondre Campbell will be the lead tackler today with 8 tackles. So
I will say, and I had to change my pick twice, Rudy Ford, 7 tackles.
That's a good pick.
Leading sacker, I'm going with Watt and Highsmith. They will get 1 sack each.
Here's this double crap again.
What? I've done it before. You guys
week,
have been lost. I'll tell you what, you guys have been lost in the sauce, man.
We've been lost in the sauce. Okay.
When you take 14
You're
players
lost in the sauce, and this guy's swigging it. No, but last week, funny story. Well, actually, relatable story, more of that. I was calculating the scores yesterday, and Luca picked 2 guys last week, and one of the guys got a sack. So I said, how do I determine this? Do I give him half, like I usually do, or do I give him fucking 0.25? So I give him half.
So did you give me 0.25 or a half?
Well, if both of those guys would have got 1 sack, it would have been 1 point.
Okay. Understood, Sensei. But I already said leading sacker. Did you guys mention your sacks yet?
No, I got Alex Highsmith. He's going to get 2 sacks today. He's going to find Jordan Love twice today and give him a nice welcome.
Okay, moving on.
First of all, I want to say this to whoever did this. I did not put in my score yet, so whoever wants to remove their score from my column, please do so.
Oh, oops. That was me. I'm sorry.
You're gonna have to pay rent for that, sir.
Well, you're in my spot, so get out.
Well, get the fuck out of my spot.
Who's
okay,
paying rent for what? What's going on? I just stepped out for a second.
He's being a clown.
I wrote it in Alex's column by mistake. Excuse me.
John, you're forgiven.
Thank you.
We all make
John,
mistakes.
Luca, your score prediction?
I am picking the Stellars 20-14. Stellars going to Super Bowl. Stellars going to Super Bowl. Stellars going to Super Bowl. Stellars going to Super Bowl.
Okay. We get it.
What? You got to
What's
mention.
up, Brad?
If you, I'll tell you this. If you pick the Steelers to win today, you got to say Stellars are going to Super Bowl. It's got like, I would say Steelers are going to Super Bowl. You got to say Stellars are gone to Super Bowl. That's how you say it in the Yinzer.
Well, I also got the Shellers going to the Super Bowl 19-6.
Okay, you got the Stellars. Listen, we'll work on that Yinzer. We'll work on
I need to work on it. I need to work on it. I'm not the impression master like you, Luca.
No, you got the Stellars part right. It's just like you got to work on the God to Super Bowl, but we'll work through that. There's progress. It's your first time. You're a rookie.
Work in progress.
You've been red shirted today, John, in the Stellars department.
Need the team.
All right, I'm gonna say 21-20. Steelers are going to Super Bowl.
Okay, so we got a clean sweep of the Steelers.
Stellars are gone to Super Bowl. Crossface Ray, I think, would be happy.
Yeah.
That's right. He's a Steelers fan.
So we're taking the clean sweep Steelers.
Our buddy Sean would be happy, too.
Yeah, he would be. Didn't they lose last week against the Jags? No, that was 3 weeks.
That was another week. Alex, as I said, we did Thursday Night Football last week.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was lost in the sauce for a minute.
Didn't you pick Pittsburgh, Alex?
Yeah, I did.
And they ended up winning.
Yeah, and who's right about that one?
Okay,
but
Steelers are going to Super Bowl.
I do. I in relatance to that, Luca, I do have a preview. One of these teams that did play on the last Thursday night game against the Steelers, and that is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Tennessee Titans. Now, these two teams are very similar. They got the same record. They rank the same in a lot of different areas, including sacks given up, although their offensive lines are really in two different states. So storyline A, which is storyline for the Titans. Will Levis, he's the starter for the rest of 2023. Ryan Tannehill has been benched. It's going to be down to Will Levis, and he's looked really impressive to start. Didn't throw any touchdowns last game, but Levis had 4 touchdowns against the Falcons and the former Tennessee coordinator Arthur Smith. However, they're also down 2 starting offensive linemen. They are down Nicholas Petit-Frere, who is on IR with a shoulder injury, and they are also down Daniel Brunskill, their starting right guard, against a front that needs sacks and needs pressure consistently in Tampa Bay. It is also Sean Murphy-Bunting's return to Tampa Bay. He signed with Tennessee in the offseason after spending his first few years in Tampa. Storyline H, which is the home team storyline. 2 similar teams. They are down 2 key players in Trey Palmer, who's been really good for them this year, and Matt Filer. So another offensive line injury of theirs. Aaron Stinney will get the start. And also, one of the main storylines last week. Can anyone tell me what one of the main storylines last week for the Bucks was?
Todd Bowles calling it. What was it? It was a Todd. I'm trying to figure out what the Todd Bowles mess up was. Because
you're not. You're okay. I'll say this.
Did he elect a punt on something?
No. You guys are overthinking.
Does that have anything to do with Todd Bowles?
I mean, he's a coach, so yes.
What did Todd
I can't
Bowles
think of
do?
the screw up that he made.
It's not about a screw up. I told you guys are overthinking this. They give 37 points to the Texans.
I thought it was 40.
No, it was 37-33 final score.
Oh.
And I picked the Texans to win. That's how much of a smarty I am. What's up, Armand?
You sometimes you just can't predict the Todd Bowles defense, but I'm glad that they failed because anybody, especially Brian, I warned Brian, I said, your team, you might be happy that your team is 3-1 at this point, but your quarterback is Baker Mayfield and your coach is Todd Bowles.
Well, he's been, 0-4 since his treacherous comments?
Yes, they're 3-5, so yes.
I don't know what's worse.
There is no
It's a
bigger
long
jinx
season,
ever. I swear, there is no bigger jinx.
It's a long season, folks. Long season.
Luca, don't do that. Don't do that.
What?
This-
It's
You're like, it's a long
season. That's why you can't get hyper about something like that, especially with Todd Bowles as your head coach.
But anyway, so the injury report for the Titans: Daniel Brunskill's out with an ankle injury. Traylon Burks is out with a concussion. Sean Murphy-Bunting, even though it's his return, he's not going to play. And Nicholas Petit-Frere, he is out, and so is Mike Brown, the defensive back, with an ankle injury. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, questionable. They got a couple guys questionable. Logan Hall, the defensive lineman, questionable with a groin injury. Trey Palmer looks like he could go because he didn't practice on Thursday, but he also practiced on Friday at a full rate. So neck and an illness, questionable, but it looks like he should be able to go. Kalijah Cansey, questionable with a quad injury. Matt Filer, doubtful with a knee injury, and then Jamel Dean, questionable with a concussion. He did full practice on Friday, so I'm going to project that he's going to go. Stats-wise, these are two very bad offenses. For the Titans, they're 26th in passing, 12th in rushing, and 24th in points. And you could also flip that for the Bucs offense, where they're mid, about 15th in passing offense. Their rushing offense is garbage at 30th. And then points, they're in the similar category, 24th for the Titans and 22nd for the Bucs. Defensively, though, it's actually, to start off the year, the Titans were like one of the worst defenses in the NFL. They've kind of subbed up to mid. And the Bucs have been very inconsistent in similar areas. The passing defense, 16th. For the Titans, 19th against the run and 11th in points given up. And then for the Bucs, 31st against the pass. The Chargers are the only ones that are worse, but they did get a kind of a break on Monday. I'll leave that for the Jet fans to analyze. 9th in rushing defense and 16th in points. To move over to the positional battles, I'm sorry, Brian, I'm going to do this. I know that he's had more experience and whatnot. I'm going to take Will Levis over Baker Mayfield. Little bit of a hot take. Going to take him. Running back room, Tennessee. How could you not? Derrick Henry and Tajay Spears. Wide receiver room, Tampa Bay. Even fully healthy, Titans and DeAndre Hopkins. I'm taking Chris Godwin, Trey Palmer, and Mike Evans all the way. Tight ends, Tampa Bay. I'll slowly take them, and it's not like, great. You could honestly go either way with this with Chiggy Okonkwo. But Kate Otten and Ko Keefe, they probably take the cake, and that's not even just saying that's a compliment. Tampa Bay will take the O-line spot for me. There's been a ton of injuries to the offensive line of the Titans. Andre Dillard's been a bust this year, and we'll talk about him in the key matchups. Daniel Brunskill, we just mentioned the injury to him. There was a couple of times where Jalen Duncan had to come in due to injuries. Chris Hubbard's going to be starting at right tackle. And they haven't performed well under those circumstances, though they are tied for allowed sacks with Tampa Bay. And that's mostly been due to Cody Mauch struggling as a rookie. But other than that, the offensive line has played fine. The defensive line, I know most people would go with Tampa Bay. I'm going to go with Tennessee here. Danico Autry and Jeffrey Simmons, the middle of that front are the lead sackers. And I think they could have have a solid game against this Tampa Bay front and make them really vulnerable. The inside linebackers, though, I think it's no question you got to go with the Bucs, and outside linebackers too, because Shaq Barrett has 2 sacks, Joe Tryon-Shoyinka has 2 sacks, Harold Landry has 4, but that is one player compared to the rest of the pack. And going to the secondary, I will say the Titans based on performance and special teams. I'll go Tampa Bay because Jake Camarda has been an absolute beast. Now, let's take a look at the top matchups. I will start with Tennessee's offense against the defense of Tampa Bay, which has not been good in the passing game. DeAndre Hopkins on my fantasy team. 3 touchdowns this season, 564 yards, 35 catches, and 9 catches over 20 yards. He will go up against Carlton Davis, who's not had a good year at all. 126.1 passer rating allowed in coverage, 69.0, which is 69% completion, 430 yards, 3 touchdowns, and that's that. So Hopkins could get a very good day against this Tampa Bay defense. It also depends on what Tampa Bay's defense does against this porous offensive line, whether they blitz or sit back in coverage. Forgot Anthony Richardson has a shoulder injury. I need more coffee. Yeah. Then again, too, maybe New England would have had a better chance to win if Anthony Richardson was playing because Bill Belichick loves going up against rookie quarterbacks. But let's move quickly to the offensive line, still on offense. Chris Hubbard, 3 sacks allowed this season versus Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, 3 sacks, 23 tackles, 5 quarterback hits, 9 QB pressures, a fumble recovery, and 5 tackles for loss. He could also be going up against Shaq Barrett, whoever is matched up to whose side, and we'll mention Andre Dillard in a sec. 3 sacks, 28 tackles, 6 quarterback hits, 15 QB pressures, 2 forced fumbles, an interception, and a tackle for loss. And Andre Dillard, as I mentioned, he's been a big bust for the Tennessee Titans. 3 penalties and 8 sacks, most in the NFL allowed. You move to the Bucs starting offense, and we'll go Chris Godwin versus Christian Fulton. As far as Godwin goes, he has 1 touchdown on the season. He's the second leading receiver, 468 yards, 6 plays over 20 yards, 40 catches, and 11.7 yards per reception versus Christian Fulton, who's been okay this year. The coverage stats are pretty solid. The completion percentage is up at 69.7, but he has not allowed a touchdown yet this season. He allowed 1 touchdown in 2020, which is the lowest in his career. But once again, maybe this is a game Christian Fulton gives up the touchdown. 91 passer rating as well. And then you have Mike Evans against the second-year player out of Auburn, Roger McCreary. Evans is the leading receiver at 594 yards, 5 touchdowns, 10 plays over 20 yards, and 37 catches against Roger McCreary, who this season has played 6 games, 69.2% completion, 87.7 passer rating. He's another guy that hasn't allowed a touchdown, 174 yards, just 6.7 yards per target. And he's also got 2 sacks on the year. So he's having a really good year for Tennessee at corner. You move back to the defense of the Bucs. Vita Vea, 3 sacks, 28 tackles, 6 quarterback hits, 15 quarterback pressures, 2 forced fumbles, an interception, and a tackle for a loss versus Dylan Raduns, Aaron Brewer, and Peter Skoronski. So Raduns, 2 penalties, 0 sacks given up. Brewer, 2 penalties, 2 sacks given up, and 1 sack allowed by Peter Skoronski, who most, or at least a good portion of his rookie year has been sidelined due to injury, but he's playing. Jeffrey Simmons, this is the other side of the defense. Jeffrey Simmons, 4.5 sacks, 31 tackles, 8 quarterback hits, 11 QB pressures, a forced fumble, 6 TFLs versus Robert Hainsey, and we'll mention Danico Autry in a second. Danico Autry, we'll mention him in a second, versus Robert Hainsey, 5 penalties and a sack. Aaron Stinney's been very flawless when he's come into the game, has not given up a sack. And then Cody Mauch, who struggled, 3 penalties, 5 sacks, moving inside when Luke Gadecki was moved outside to tackle. And then Danico Autry, who's the lead sacker for the Tennessee Titans, 5 sacks, 27 tackles, 10 quarterback hits, 10 QB pressures, forced fumble, and 5 tackles for loss. And as I mentioned, the sacks allowed category, these teams are very similar. They're neck and neck. They're also neck and neck in sacks accumulated. Now, the last matchup I will go to, and this is kind of like players I expect to have a game, Jamel Dean versus Kyle Phillips, Chris Moore, or Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. Jamel Dean has not had a good year. No interceptions, a completion percentage allowed of 70.6, 260 yards, 2 touchdowns, 102.4 passer rating. Not good. And Kyle Phillips, guy drafted last year, a shorter guy, slot wide receiver too, out of UCLA, had a really good game against the Giants. But you have Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, who's had 3 touchdowns this year, 224 yards, 18 catches, Chris Moore, 6 catches, 169 yards, 4 plays over 20 yards. And then, as I mentioned, Kyle Phillips, 8 catches, 98 yards. So I'm looking for one of them to really go off this game. Carlton Davis, this is just a bad secondary. And I know I'm actually not going to spoil it for John because I know something he has some things to do with this game. But I'm really looking for these 2 defensive lines and 2 offensive lines to go at it because they're not particularly the best units. But I'm also looking for Kyle Phillips or one of those receivers to step up in the absence of Treylon Burks. So, with that being said, I think we ought to move into predictions. Let's start with me. Who is the leading passer in this game? I'm actually going to go Will Levis. And I'm going to say, let's go 289 yards and 2 touchdowns. No picks.
I was going to have John go first.
I'm saying Will Levis goes a little nuclear as well. 3 touchdowns, 300 yards, but he also throws a pick.
Okay.
Just looking at something here. I'm going to go Baker Mayfield, actually. And I'm going to say he has a bit of a game. He's going to take this Titans defense deep. 275 yards and 2 touchdowns.
I mean, that would kind of help me. Fantasy purposes. But with that being said, moving forward here, Lee Rusher, I mean, I'm going to go Derrick Henry. I say they just mull out some yards. I'm going to say 17 carries. Let's go 66 yards. No touchdown, though.
I'm going with Rashad White. 15 carries, 95 yards, 2 touchdowns.
I'll also go with Rashad White, but I think it's going to be on the low. He's like your average running back, in my opinion. He's not a great runner. He doesn't put up a lot of gaudy numbers. I'm going to go 65 yards, 10 carries.
The reason I do say that, though, I'm not a big fan of the Titans' run defense.
No, I know. I understand.
I'm not a big fan of it. But Alex, go ahead. You got the next one.
Yeah, Chris Godwin. I'll take him as the lead receiver. 7 catches, 77 yards.
Today I'm saying DeAndre Hopkins goes nuclear. 8 receptions, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Okay.
DeAndre Hopkins also has a very good game. I'm going to go 7 receptions, 125 yards, touchdown.
Okay. Lead tackler. This one's going to be interesting. I think I took Antoine Winfield either last week or the week before. I believe I took him last week. I was wrong on that stature. I'm going to take Devin White, and I'll say he gets 8 tackles.
I'm going with the man Levante David, 13 tackles today.
I'm going to have Azeez Al-Shaair, 7 tackles.
Okay, and lead sacker, I'll take Vita Vea for 1. John.
I know my pick. I'm just thinking, is there anyone else that I'm going to stick with my pick. Devin White's going to get a sack today. Devin White.
I think Jeffrey Simmons gets a sack.
Okay. Final score predictions. I think Tennessee pulls this out. I'm going to say, let's go 26-17.
All right, I got the Titans as well, so let me write it down. I got the Titans as well, and they will win by a score of 33-28.
I think this will be a medium type of shootout. (27-23) Tennessee. I think they have also the coaching advantage.
That is true. And
All right. So usually we would do picks after this, but I have to tend to something, and I will let Sir Angry John and Sir Luca handle the betting advice
we're doing
and
betting.
the fantasy advice. So I have a graphic to put up here on the screen, and I shall return.
Don't worry. We'll do picks when he comes back. Don't worry. We still got picks. We still got picks. Okay. Some fantasy news and notes that I do like to put out for my fantasy football players, as I know a lot of you guys play that fantasy football. We play it as well. Okay. Brad telling me not to think too hard. I know. I usually don't. I'm just a genius. But anyway,
Yes.
as Sir Luca knows, and knows how I call him Luca, because that's his name. But anyway, as Diva break for Alexis is Brad. We begin with one guy that I want to. I've talked about him at least 2 or 3 times on this show for fantasy football. Sam Howell. Luca, do you know that you know where Sam Howell ranks in terms of quarterbacks?
In terms of fantasy quarterbacks or just in general?
Fantasy quarterbacks. Sorry, I should have been more specific there.
He can't rank that high. I'm gonna go 22nd.
Sam Howell was quarterback 10.
Really?
Yep.
Well, it's the difference.
Now,
it
might. What happened?
No, I was saying, like, obviously, sometimes, obviously, like, you look at saying, like, this quarterback is top 10 in the NFL and you see Armin even guessed with you.
Well, Armin's correct.
But I was gonna say, like, fantasy numbers and NFL numbers and the way we
no, those are 2 different.
Obviously, because
let me reiterate. Sam Howell is not a top 10 quarterback in the league.
He's not.
He's not even a top 25.
But
in terms of fantasy value, this dude has been a passing volume monster. Because you know why? You know what he leads in? He's first in passing attempts. All right, in the NFL, and that's going to give him a lot of volume. Now, when it comes to like per drop back for fantasy points, that's where it's like plummets to like quarterback 20 because the volume's there. He's just not the most efficient guy. But again, he's not the best, but the volume is so high, guys. Washington is so bad. And well, I'm not going to get into a preview of it.
They're playing. Listen, to be fair, John, they play from behind all the time, so you can see why the passing yards are up there.
Their game script always allows him to air it out. So that is why Sam Howell is someone you probably should be starting if you need someone. Especially you have an injury like a guy like Kirk Cousins. Sam Howell is a perfect guy to put in there.
I'm lucky because I don't mean to interrupt, but in my fantasy league, I think it's the one where I think it's your league, John. I don't know. I don't think it is. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. I had Kirk Cousins, or maybe in the Booyah League, but I ended up replacing him easily. I think it was with CJ Stroud, actually, and he had a very awesome week last week. But anyways, go on.
All right. Next up, I want to talk about Jalen Hurts. I love Jalen Hurts. I think he's like a top 5, top 10 quarterback in football. Fair. Okay. Fantasy, he's probably around top 5. I didn't write that down. This might be a good spot to sell high on him, though. Luca, I'm going to read you his schedule. Now, the last 3 games are really easy. The Giants twice in Arizona. I'm going to read you his next 5 games. It is a gauntlet. Kansas City, Buffalo, San Francisco, Dallas, Seattle.
You've got a point about that selling high mark because I know you mentioned the last couple of games, the final games of the season will be the Giants and the Cardinals and whoever, but you're right. It is a good opportunity to sell high.
This is a perfect spot to sell high. He's riding high on a Cowboys win. Now, I'm not saying the Eagles are going to lose all those games.
Right.
What I'm simply saying is that is a gauntlet of a schedule because he's first off, I mean, the Eagles are on a bye this week. So they do have that. But they're in Arrowhead in Kansas City, not an easy place to play. Then they're home against Buffalo, and Buffalo's got a good defense. They're home against San Francisco, really good defense. Then they got to travel to Dallas, really excellent defense. Then they got to travel to Seattle, another really good defense. I know they just got the
piss kicked out of them, but that's more of the offense.
Yeah, exactly. So this would be a perfect spot to sell high on Jalen Hurts. Not saying he might even B, he could still do very good. But that
Yeah.
schedule is so concerning, Luca, where it's like you want to find guys, you want to find guys with favorable schedules.
Of course.
Because those are the guys that are going to rack up fantasy points at the end of the year. Because now we know we're in week 10. We know what teams are good and bad this year. We know what every team's strength and weakness is. This is the Eagles. At times, if you apply pressure to them, you could see Jalen Hurts falter. We saw it in that Jets game.
Oh yeah.
Those teams can get after the quarterback real good. An Armin bomb. Yes, that is perfect for me. Jamar Chase is active. Well, he'll be staying in my fantasy lineup then. That is for anyone who has him. He will be active. He's in he did what was necessary in warmups. No T. Higgins though. So that hurts. We'll get into receivers in a little bit. But we'll go into before we do receivers, Luca. We got running backs. One guy that was noted because the Houston Texans, they killed it last week.
Oh yeah, they fired on all cylinders regarding the passing game.
And I've already raved about CJ Stroud so much. He might be one of my new favorite players. But no Dameon Pierce this week, which means Devin Singletary is going to be the Texans' workload. He played in 75% of the snaps last week. He only had 26 total yards, but I think that's going to bounce up. I really the Bengals are a real good force to reckon with, and Singletary is actually in 9th in missed tackles forced, so he's still a guy that can break away. Maybe not like a home run hitter, but he can get those chunk yards. And
yes,
the Bengals allow the 12th highest yards before contacts since week 5. So,
now let me ask you this. I don't mean to interrupt because I'm actually going to ponder this move in one of my other fantasy leagues. Kareem Hunt is my current running back 2, my second running back in my starting line. Now, do I replace Singletary with him? Or do I replace Hunt with Singletary?
Personally, I'd stay away from Kareem Hunt today. Do not like
Okay, so I'm going to add him. I'm going to add Singletary.
Mm-hmm. I think Singletary is definitely a flex play, and he has running back 2 potential.
Okay.
If all things fire well, with no Dameon Pierce, I think that's the ceiling for Devin Singletary.
Okay.
Next guy I want to talk about, and you mentioned one running back in that game for the Ravens, Browns, Hunt. Well, here's a guy that I like, Gus Edwards, this week.
Awesome.
Now,
he's in my fantasy lineup.
Now, the Browns are a really good defense. They're a better pass defense than run defense, so expect a lot of touches. Obviously Lamar Jackson's going to run, but Edwards is 26th ranked fantasy running back right now. He's 19th in red zone touches, so there is a good chance they might give him the ball there. He's 17th in explosive run rate, 20th in yards after contact. So decent numbers, nothing crazy. And here's where people are a little scared because he didn't have a good game last week against the Seahawks in that beatdown. Well,
might I add real quick, it was the rookie running back, Keaton Mitchell, who had the bigger game, right? He had like 120-something yards.
And everyone went to go hammer him. But here's why I say that only happened. Because they blew the doors off the Seahawks really early.
Yes.
So, of course, they're going to give to their rookie running back, and they're going to keep Edwards off to the sideline. That's why you saw the snaps go down. But against a team with the Cleveland Browns, there's no way they'll probably win, right? But I don't think they're going to blow the doors off them like they did Seattle. But Luca, the Cleveland Browns, even though their defense is excellent, they have allowed the highest explosive run rate.
Okay.
So Gus Edwards does have a chance, and I don't like people panicking with him because I think he's a phenomenal option for today. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I know Keaton Mitchell's the hot pick, but you would like to see 2 weeks of sustainability. But again, Gus Edwards has been the main guy, and he's played very well for the most part, solid.
Yeah. I'd say that Gus Edwards is a guy that you want to hammer. But another Armin bomb. Per Pat Leonard, Joe Shane and Brian Dable are under pressure on Sunday to start fielding a respectable, consistently competitive team. Another massacre, and he turns up inside the building. Ooh, that's.
I don't know if you can be competitive with Tommy DeVito though. So that's you obviously have that.
There's no way they get fired. But nevertheless, we're going to stick with the Ravens. Here's a guy I don't want you to play. Odell Beckham Jr. Now, he has an 18% target share. And on the first read share, it's 20.8%. So they do look to him. But he just hasn't done much with volume. This is different from a quarterback. Receivers need to actually do something,
Right.
Because they can't control the game like a quarterback. Now, he does lead his team in end zone targets, right, against man coverage. But he's going up against Denzel Ward and Martin Emerson.
Right.
That is a deadly, deadly corner duo. He's not the old Odell. Do not play Odell Beckham. Give me the Browns matchup for that one, because that is a disaster waiting to happen. But we have another receiver in that game on the opposite side, Amari Cooper, a guy who I actually just traded for in one of my leagues. Amari Cooper is probably a wideout too, easily a flex play, but you could probably get away with him. Now, Cooper has kind of fluctuated, okay? Remember, he hasn't had Deshaun Watson for a little bit.
Right.
He's missed some time. But Cooper still has a 22% target share, a 30% first read share, so they do look to him a lot. He's also 5th among wideouts in deep targets, okay? He's
Fair enough.
5th among targets. Now, they probably do need to throw the ball deep more in their offense, but Cooper's going up against Marlon Humphrey, who's usually a much better player, right?
Right.
But he's been a downish season for Humphrey. They also have Brandon Stevens, who's had a really excellent season. And Baltimore, they don't allow many touchdowns. I understand that. But Amari Cooper is still one of those guys that you play every week because he's that good.
But let me just say this for the record. It seems like Marlon Humphrey is optimistic about playing, but he had to clear pregame warmups. He just came out. He walked back to the locker room with the trainer, so that status is up in the air right now, obviously.
Yep. So again, keep my warning. Don't play Beckham, but you can play Amari Cooper. Okay? We'll move into the tight ends. Brian, I hope you're listening to this. Sit Cade Otton.
Yes.
Don't get fooled, okay, by the numbers from last week. He had 6 catches, 70 yards, 2 touchdowns. His best week. And everyone thinks, oh, my God, this guy might be a great... No. He's probably been picked up a lot now. And he's had some really good games.
Right.
I just mentioned it. But Houston, that came against Houston. Tennessee has allowed the 12th fewest receiving yards per game to tight ends and the 5th lowest fantasy points to tight ends. So they cover the tight end very well with their linebackers and their safeties. And I guess throwing their corners. Also, the Titans, here's a nice little nugget I found this week. Only defense to not allow a touchdown to a tight end all season.
Interesting.
Don't get fooled by Cade Otton, okay? This is not your moment to go pick him up. Here's a guy that we never really talk about the superstars of the league, but some people are starting to panic a little on Travis Kelce. I think this is a really great spot to buy low, okay?
I've kept him.
And you should keep him because, he has a bye this week, but the last 2 weeks he hasn't really played that well. Only 58 yards against Denver, only 14 yards against Miami, okay? Not the greatest for him. Not the greatest. Now, here's the good thing, because he's on a bye this week. He's got Philly, but let's look at some of the teams after that he gets. So he's got Philly at home. Then he goes to Vegas and Green Bay. You think anyone's covering him from that game? Anyone good? No?
Anybody from Green Bay
Or Vegas? No. Not at all. Then he gets Buffalo, which is going to be a tougher matchup. Then he gets New England, which he'll dominate. He gets Vegas again, so he gets Vegas twice. He's got the Bengals, which will be a tough matchup. Then week 18, he'll get the Chargers.
He's got a lot riding for him.
So, and let's remember, the highest game he had, that 179-yard game, was against the Chargers. So if people are starting to sending your offers to Travis Kelce. He's someone in a buy low spot because people are starting to I don't want to say panic because it's Travis Kelce. He's the best tight end in damn football. But this is one of those moments where it's like, oh, you see a guy like that and you know he's just automatically good. Buy low on him. Buy low. If you guys want to ask your fantasy questions, go ahead. Luca, if you got any. But remember to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the damn like video on this video. And also go check out my Mets video. Okay?
Yes.
Go check it out.
All right. I'm looking through some of my decisions. Is Tyler Boyd a play this week as a flex?
Is Tyler Boyd a flex play this week?
He's facing the Texans. According to ESPN, the Texans are fourth, I think, against. It might be against receivers or just flex plays overall.
You see, I honestly am not the biggest fan of his matchup because as a slot receiver, he doesn't get many red zone targets. That kind of scares me a little.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they go to other guys. I know Higgins is out.
They have Jamar Chase healthy, so that's not going to help.
That's the reason I'm not a big fan of Boyd. He just doesn't get the targets in the red zone. So he could have like a 70, 80-yard game for like 5-6 catches.
But obviously you ask if that's enough. But some other possible starters I could put in the flex. Tajay Spears, they're facing the fourth best against running backs. I'm not going to do that. You have Sam Laporta, who I think is a very good option. I think the Chargers are 26th against tight ends.
Yeah, Laporta is someone you should start.
Okay, I'm moving him into the flex category. TJ Hawkinson's expected to play, so that's a good sign. Let me check out my other fantasy teams and see the important questions regarding those. Let's see. I got Geno Smith starting. That's fine against Washington, even though I have Trevor Lawrence on my bench. I'm going to sit Trevor Lawrence. Should I sit Trevor Lawrence this week against the Niners, or am I better off sitting Geno Smith?
You see, here's the thing I'll say about Lawrence. He could carve them up, but it might not be to the long run. Now, what do we always say Geno Smith really struggles against?
Pressure.
And what did Washington just get rid of?
2 edge rushers.
Correct, which is going to help us with betting advice. I'd start Geno Smith this week.
Okay. I'm just looking around at my other receivers. So I have Josh Reynolds on the bench. I don't think that's a huge deal. I'm actually going to choose to start Marquise Brown against the Falcons. The Falcons, because this is on my Yahoo League. Like, obviously, they have the red opponents, which are the really good defenses, the fonts in gray, which are average, and the green, which is really bad. But Marquise Brown will start. Monroe St. Brown, I'll start him as well. He's going up against the Chargers. That's a good matchup. Do I start Alexander Madison or Austin Eckler?
Well, with Austin Eckler, right? He's still a really damn good running back. I'd say he's a RB2 in this league right now, or for this matchup, because he doesn't look like the same guy that he once was, but I still think he's got a lot of value. Like, I still think you saw him against the Jets. Like, he could still catch passes. He could still do very good things.
He dropped 3 key passes, but still he got into the end zone, I think, twice, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm on the side of starting Eckler because I think he's better than Mr. Madison. But Ice Cold Jones with his question. Ice Cold, I'm telling you, Cade Otton was a mirage. Do not start Cade Otton. If you heard my thing, Tennessee is the only team to not give a touchdown to a tight end. You could start Logan Thomas. I've been very high on him since week 1 because of his target share. He's ranked 7th in deep targets amongst tight end and 12th in the end zone. He's got a decent matchup against the Seahawks. Go start him. Do not start Cade Otton. Do not start him. The real MVP, welcome, man. I've never seen you here before. But here asked Devontae Adams, Madison, full PPR flex.
I think the Jets defense, I'm going to give my thoughts. The Jets defense is still elite. The third best passing defense across the NFL. He's going up against Sauce Gardner. But this is a flex if he says a flex, right?
True. I'd still go with Devontae Adams just because the target share is at 31%, right?
Okay.
The first read share is at 41%, which is amazing. Now I know the concern is not the volume, but who his quarterback is, because
Aiden O'Connell.
O'Connell, and the Jets do have a really good defense. But I still think Adams can get his catches. Now, he might not get a touchdown, but I still think they're going to try and force feed him. So
Okay, yeah.
that is the tricky part. Although the one thing I'll say with Madison is it's not that I don't like him. I just think he's average.
Yeah, that's fair. He's average.
You know what? Because I have some notes here. Since week 6, he's actually had 16 touches a game and 60 total yards. You know what? I'm kind of leaning toward Madison.
That's what I thought.
I'm going to lean toward Madison on that one. The real MVP. I love Devontae Adams. He just has a tough matchup this week. I think Madison's the safer play. Now, if I'm wrong, you could hate me. But
Yeah.
I just think it's a much safer play. After this, hello, boys. You haven't streamed anything in like an hour. LOL, the stream that never sleeps. Thank you, man. Well, we always appreciate when we're here. Currently giving our fantasy football and soon the
Betting advice.
For everyone at the moment.
I think I've cleared my fantasy questions. Again, if you guys are fantasy, you guys are going to ask for fantasy questions, feel free to ask John. He's the fantasy. I'm not going to say he's an expert, but he's the guy you go to ask. But John, if you want to move into the betting advice, I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I know you had a play for me you picked out on Friday, and I picked that play. But
what I was going to do, actually, I'm going to look at the board. All right. I'm going to look at BetMGM. I'm going to look at Prize Picks, and we're going to see what we have.
I'm very interested to see what your Prize Picks are.
Sure. We're going to look at it together.
Okay.
So obviously we're going to get out of this the Colts Pats because they're already playing. Niners Jags. Now it's going to be the Niners are in a really good spot because when you get them at like -3, that's usually a bet that doesn't lose. Like to give them that few, I think they're being a little undervalued. That's something that I would love to take, but it could be a that's a tricky one because I do like the Jags a lot, but the Niners I think are being very undervalued in my opinion.
I think the Niners end up taking that victory, but it's going to be a somewhat close game in my opinion. Somewhat close.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to be one score. I don't think it's 3 points. I could be a matter of 6 or 7, or maybe in 5.
Right. And then we look at the next game, the Texans Bengals. That's a game where I don't know. I don't really know if I have a lead. Like, I think I don't want to start getting into my picks yet.
Right.
But I think the best value might be on the, I don't even want to, that's a tough game.
That's a tough game because I think the Texans can pull the upset. If you want my personal opinion.
They could, but it's at a 5.5 spread right now. That's a tough one. That's a very tough one.
For Bet US, it's actually at 6.5.
That's a tough one. Next up, Packers Steelers. BetMGM has them the Steelers at a -3. Now, I will say this: that under at 38.5. That's a good one. That might be a good one. That might be a good one at -110 under 38.5. That's something I would take a look at. All right, Alex, we're looking at the board right now, what it says.
Okay. What's up to Afram, the real MVP, and any others I missed in the chat?
Here's one of my favorite plays. My favorite. Titans Bucks. The over has jumped to 39. I would still hammer that. That is such a low total in my opinion because the Bucks have been atrocious on defense. We're gonna look at the Bucks for a real quick sec. Their past games over the last few weeks. Ready?
You said their passing defense, like Alex had the numbers.
Their past few weeks, the amount of points they've given up.
I know, but I'm just going to remark that Alex put down their passing defenses.
Dead
last.
That too.
They're near dead last.
Yeah. 3 of the last 4 games. Ready? So the only game I'm going to exclude is the Falcons because I believe Desmond Ridder was starting in that one.
Yeah, that sounds.
We all know how bad he's been. Texans scored 39. The Bills scored 24. The Lions scored 20. So they've given up at least 20 points in the last 3 games, which means they BetMGM for some reason think the Titans can't score or the Bucks won't score 19, which I think they very well can, because I don't think the Titans have an all-world defense. I love that over. Take the over at 39. Take it.
I don't know. I agree with you. I personally thought Will Levis played well last week. I know he threw the game-ending interception, but I think he was handcuffed by the Tim Kelly play call. I think it was like on the 3rd and 4 in that specific second-to-last drive. But I thought he had an overall good game last week, and I think this is a game where he could flourish. So I have to agree with John. Hit that over.
Hit that over. Next up, Saints-Vikings. I don't really want to touch this game because I could see it go either way. It's kind of a coin flip game. The money line has the Saints at minus 160, no real value. That's really good value for the Vikings at a plus 135. But I'm not like I lean the Vikings, but like I'm not like 100% sold they're going to win. Even these two pick the Saints.
Yeah.
Right? That's just such a big battle of a game. I don't know whether that's going to hit, in my opinion. So I wouldn't play that game. Browns-Ravens, we got a division game. Now, everyone's been hammering the Ravens minus 6.5. Then some people are even hammering plus 6.5 for the Browns because that's what it's at right now. I want to avoid the spread, but I do like that under at 38 because that total hasn't moved. I've been looking the past few days. It has not moved. That total at minus 38 has not moved whatsoever. And, excuse me, it's at a minus 110. The total of 38 has not moved. These defenses are really good. And remember, who's starting for the you got Lamar Jackson against it's Deshaun is back, correct?
Deshaun Watson, yes.
He's back. They haven't had the best chemistry yet because he hasn't been on the field that much. But this is a game where these two teams, they really do know each other well. And remember, division unders hit a lot more than not.
Yeah.
That's just how it is in the NFL. Now, if this were prime time, this is probably one of my best bets because the prime time unders for divisional games are great. And this is one of those games where I would take the under. We're in the 4 o'clock window now. The Lions-Chargers. I really like the favorite of a Chargers at a +3 spread. They're labeled at minus 120 odds. Here's why. What is the Chargers really bad at? When they're favorites, right?
Okay.
They struggle. Anyone remember with the Chargers-Jets? Remind me. Was that a game where the Jets were favored or the Chargers?
I could take a look at that. I'm pretty sure the Chargers were favored.
But it wasn't a big spread. I remember that.
I would say maybe it was the Chargers -3.
Let me take a look.
I think yeah.
Minus 3.5 Chargers.
That's what yeah. When the Chargers are like one of those -3 favorites, so they're a low favorite or they're an underdog, Justin Herbert excels very well. This is a game where I really do like them in a value spot at +3. Remember the Lions? They started out really hot, but they've had some struggles in there. They have. They're still 6-2, and I still think they're a playoff team. But Justin Herbert's better as a underdog. That's just how he is his whole career.
Not to mention the Lions' pass defense is a little more vulnerable than their run defense.
That is true. And remember, the Lions love to run the football, right?
Yes. And isn't Montgomery back this week? Yeah, Montgomery's back this week. I'm saying Montgomery's back.
Correct. But what did I say? The Chargers do really well, especially Monday night.
Stop the run.
They stopped the run very well. And they did a very good job against the Jets, even though it's not
the fucking 2015 Giants all over again. They don't know how to stop the pass, but they know how to stop the run.
Next up, Cardinals-Falcons. I don't really want to touch that game. It's Kyler Murray's coming back, right? If I'm not mistaken, but
Kyler Murray's coming back.
I don't want to touch that game. I don't want it. Giants Cowboys. You know what? For jokes, give me 1 second.
I have a surprise when we go to that game. I have a surprise, and then we better make it the last pick.
Okay, well, sure. I'll purposely, when we do the Book of Wonder picks, I'll purposefully do that. But you know what, Almighty, I'll answer your question. You said start Mike Evans or Zay Flowers. Well, we'll start off with Mike Evans, right? Now, Mike Evans, I kind of see him as a receiver 2 option in this league. But he's been pretty solid. I think he's 12th in fantasy, 8th in deep targets. I've been telling you guys for like weeks now. This guy, they love going deep to him. Okay. And since week 5, the Titans have the seventh highest rate of too high. So they play a lot of that safety. And then, Evans, the target share has been increased. The first read share has increased. This dude is a wide receiver too, because he's not elite like he once was, but he's still very good. And I put that over Zay Flowers. Remember what I said about Cleveland in those corners? Emerson and Denzel Ward. Really tough matchup. I'd say start Mike Evans.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Now, the Giants-Cowboys, okay, there's like a 17.5 spread. It's like really funny. I'm sorry. Like it's
you can laugh. I mean,
listen.
Vegas is saying, for those who don't understand betting, Vegas is basically saying in order to win, think of it like this. Think like the Giants already have 17.5 points.
He just did it again, John. He just did it again.
No way. I was looking at the board.
I did it on purpose. Yeah. But I was going to say this real quick.
I'm listening.
John, do you remember a 17.5 point underdog that won against their opponent?
Don't talk about the Giants winning. It's not going to happen. Move on.
No. John, I'm asking you a question. Do you remember a 17.5 point underdog that won and beat a superior team? They're far superior than their own team.
I'm going to look it up.
No, you're not. No, you're not looking it up. You're not looking
this year?
Well, I'm letting John answer.
It's not
this year. Do you want me to mention the year? Yes or no? It might be a giveaway, though, to be fair.
Was it the Jets?
It was the Jets losing to the Rams. Jets beating the Rams.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking that.
17.5 point underdogs. That's why I mentioned the Giants. I'm like, I remember that spread.
Now, I'm not going to touch this game. You might want to touch the over. Remember, when these two teams played with Daniel Jones, the total was the score was 40-0. The total is at 38.5. Minus 110 odds for the under. That's my lean. I probably wouldn't want to touch that game. All right. That's just my opinion. But nevertheless, we move on to a better game. This is one of my favorite spreads. Classic overreaction by Vegas, in my opinion. The Seattle Seahawks -6 against the Washington Commanders.
No.
And we mentioned what happened.
Shouldn't be at 6.5. Should be closer.
I disagree wholeheartedly. I think the Seahawks are going to beat the brakes off the Commanders. Here's why. And we just mentioned it with Luca. What does Geno Smith struggle against?
Pressure.
What did Washington just get rid of?
Their pressure.
There you go.
I have a gut feeling the inside's going to do something, but
can I also mention that the pass defense is quite suspect of Washington?
It is as well.
I'm not saying that the Seahawks are not going to win. I'm saying that, trust me, I don't think the spread should be 6. My personal opinion.
It went down and then it moved back up.
Here's the two ways this is going to go. And this is really odd. Seattle's going to play down to the competition, or Seattle's going to blow their ass.
I think Seattle's going to blow their ass up. I think this is a reaction from Vegas seeing the Seahawks get beaten down, and then Washington, who I believe won last week, if I'm not mistaken. Sorry. They lost last week to the Eagles, but they played up to their competition because they always play the Eagles very tough.
Yeah, it's true. A was a divisional game. B, both pass defenses are terrible. Mm-hmm. But in that game, I'm saying. But
I love the Seahawks spread here. I love it.
It's fair.
You also said take Sam Howell as a quarterback on fantasy.
Right, because the passing attempts. Because they're so down often.
Exactly. That works into my point. But anyway, then we have the Sunday night slate. Jets Raiders. I don't really have a play in this one because I tend to try and avoid these. I did like that under that hit for the Jets Chargers on Monday Night Football. But the total is at 35.5. That's really low. The Raiders do have some value at +1 because the Jets are favored by a point. But I mean, if you want to take the Raiders, that'd be my lean for a +1 just because of the value. But like, I don't like betting on. I wouldn't want to bet on the Raiders because no, they had a great win last week. Don't get me wrong, but it was against the Giants, and like, it's the Raiders.
Yeah,
Right.
You know. But kudos to their interim head coach. What's his face?
Antonio Pierce.
Pierce. Just saying it, he looks like someone that should be on a coaching staff in the future, whether it's not with the Raiders.
I mean, he wasn't Herm Edwards, but that was college.
Broncos, Bills. Here's the play I like for Monday Night Football. The total's at 46.5. We should hit the under.
Yeah.
It's a prime game.
Yeah.
And when are we given the respect that the Broncos? So remember, these teams have to both score more than 23 points. Do we really think the Broncos are going to score 23?
Hey, listen, for the tank, sure, but no, realistically, no.
Realistically, I like that under. I've chosen a lot of unders today. I've chosen a lot, but that's just what I like on the board. We'll move into prize picks. I'll look at what I was looking at.
So let me ask this, John, real quick. Your favorite spread of the week is Seahawks -6.
Mm-hmm.
Did you and what is your favorite over/under? Because I gotta toggle these things when seeing what
that Titans Bucks at 39
over, right?
Over. I like that over. I think that's way too low.
I'm gonna pick one of them this week, and I want to find. I'm gonna toggle it while you go over the prize picks. Which one I should go over?
If I'm more confident in one,
yes,
I'd say that Titans Bucks over.
Sold. I'll do that.
Makes sense.
We'll look at the prize picks entry for today's board, just because for fun, any of those player props. I know some guys like that. What we can do is go to NFL, not NBA. I hate that, man. Stop going in. You know what? It's all right. No, seriously, it's so frustrating.
Right.
We'll look at some receivers. Maybe we can get. Should we go receiving yards or reception? You know what? We'll look at some of the receptions for some of these guys.
Okay. Because I by the way, I already set two of my things into motion. I picked let's see who I picked, because CJ Stroud had a it's not a prize pick. It's one of those things where it's one of those boost plays where they say over or under half yards. I picked CJ Stroud. Obviously, you hit the over.
Mm-hmm.
The other play I made in that certain bet was, I'm just going to pull up right now, I believe it was Aaron Jones over 53.5 rushing yards against the Steelers defense, who's been pitiful this season.
That's probably a really smart play to hit, but we're going to look at some of these receptions on some of these guys.
Okay.
Now let's see. What do we have here? I'm seeing if there's anything I could fade.
I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna see if there's any other like prop bets that fit the receivers.
Yeah, that could help too. One I don't.
I see Drake London for one because he has Taylor Heineke as his quarterback instead of Desmond Ridder.
Here's something we could fade. K. Dotton 3.5 receptions. Don't think he hits that.
You don't think he hits 3.5?
No, I think he go under on that one.
Okay.
That might be a gut pick, but that's something I'm not a big fan of. Let's see what else there is out there. Just taking a look. Trying to see.
I see that also the Chiggy Okonkwo. They suggest the over 29.5 receiving yards against the Bucs defense.
That's actually not a bad hit. I'm on receptions right now.
Okay.
You can definitely play that. That's not a bad play either. What else do we got here? What else? Any tough matchups of like guys that are too high at the moment? I'm looking. Give me a sec, people. Give me a huge sec. Conquo's not a bad one. Devontae Adams at 5 receptions. He might get that.
Yeah, I think he does.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. I'm also gonna look. Let's go help with the running backs. Let's go with the rushing yards.
I mentioned Aaron Jones. I think that's a good pick.
Yeah, I could easily see that. I like the under for Najee Harris at 53.5.
By the way, Bill O'Brien was seen screaming at Mac Jones.
Ooh, that's not good for me because I picked the Pats. Damn you. But Najee Harris, I like the under 53.5. I see Jaylen Warren getting more snaps each week. I like the under there.
Okay.
I like the under a lot. I'm trying to look for these split backfields because
Jones and Dillon are split backfield if I'm correct. But Jones obviously mentioned. Yeah. But what about the over 12.5 rush attempts for Aaron Jones?
I could see that. I could see that happen. Trying to also think out loud. The Jahmyr Gibbs at 37.5 yards. I think the under is going to hit for that. I lean the under there, in my opinion. Kenneth Walker's at 63.5. I'm going to say the under hits there.
Okay.
Charbonnet is getting a lot more snaps recently. That's something you could look at for anyone that wants to take a look. The Josh Jacobs at 67.5. I want to say the over hits against the Jets.
That's fair.
I think the over hits for Josh Jacobs. So that's something we can look at there. We'll go to receiving yards too, because I know Mr. Luca has those receivers as well. I'm gonna look at the board. Looking at the board for y'all guys. If you have any questions with your betting advice, you can let me know. Any fantasy questions. This is my taking my time and due diligence to go through some picks I like. I had stats written down, but we're going to look at the board to see more accurately what you guys would be getting.
What would you say real quick about Travis Etienne's receiving yards? Do you take the under or over 25.5?
I lean the under.
Okay.
Lean the under. I'd fade Christian Watson at 36.5 yards. Don't think Jordan Love under.
Okay.
That total's low for a reason. I don't really like Christian Watson today.
He's going up against Joey Porter Jr., who's a nice young rookie.
Mm-hmm. And Jordan Love Christian Watson excels on the deep ball, but Jordan Love can't throw the deep ball. So exactly. That really hurts. That really hurts his value, in my opinion. Trying to see what else is out there. What else in the middle of our house? Okay. Quanko, that was a good one, I think. The 30.5. Although he's never hit that total before, but Tampa can't cover a tight end to save their life.
That's why I picked the Okonkwo.
Mm-hmm. That's a pretty good one. Trying to see. Odell's at 30.5. I would fade that. Mm-hmm. I would take the under there. I would definitely take the under. Jonnu Smith, Michael. Trying to see what else is out there. Damn, that's a really high total. I'm scared of taking that.
So we're just looking for receiving at this point?
Yeah, just to see anything else that jumps out at me. Anything else that I like. I'm sure there's plenty of things that I'm not seeing at the moment, because I did give a lot of the picks on for today's game, so I didn't have a chance to look at every single player prop. But Jackson Smith and Jigba at 41.5. That's a really good value. I kind of like the over there.
You think so? I mean, he's been on the back burner for most games. He had a touchdown not too long ago, I believe. It wasn't in It wasn't in the Baltimore game, though.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Josh Jacobs at 19.5. I like that a lot. I could see a lot
Jamar
of
Chase will be active today.
Yes,
Yep,
I heard. Yes, we heard.
saw that
Yeah.
already.
And James Cook's at 18.5 for tomorrow. That's something I would definitely play for receiving.
Oh yeah, they're receiving. Well, I mean
Against
rushing
Denver.
too, but yeah.
So
All right, New England's moving the chains.
those are just some of the plays I would have. If you guys have any more questions, you guys can ask. I need to crack my back.
Pick time.
Pick time.
Pick time.
All right. So we'll go to the games that we haven't picked. Texans, Bengals.
Bengals. I would normally pick a Texans upset. Texans are dealing with a couple of injuries.
You know what? I'm going to take Cincinnati, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was an upset here.
I'm going to agree with you and say the Bengals got this, but I do love me some CJ Stroud. But the Bengals have been playing one of the best teams in football right now. They're going back on track. Saints, Vikings. You said the Saints. You guys said the Saints. I said the Vikings. The Steelers, Packers. We all have the Steelers. Titans, Bucks. We all have the Titans. 49ers, Jags.
San Fran. I think they've been struggling the last couple of weeks, and I think this is not going to think a get right game, but I think this is going to be a good game for them.
Give me San Fran too.
I originally was going to pick the Jags, but I do think I don't see the Niners losing 4 in a row.
Yeah.
If they do, it's all Brad's fault.
Yeah.
But anyway, next game. Browns, Ravens.
Give me
Baltimore.
I agree, and I will say Baltimore wins in a clean sweep. Falcons, Cardinals.
Give me the Cards for an upset.
Give me the Falcons. Taylor Heineke.
I'm saying Kyler Murray gets this team a win. I'm going with Alex on this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, but no one wants to hear your nonsense about 49ers and kangaroos and what they do in Australia. But anyway, I'm only kidding, Brad. Lions, Chargers. You kind of know where I'm going in this one.
Detroit.
Yeah, give me Detroit as well. Lions, Williams is playing as well as Debo and Hargraves.
Give me the Chargers to outright win this game.
All right, that's an interesting pick.
We'll skip that game for Mr. Alex's request. Commander Seahawks. We already know where I'm going in this game.
Seahawks.
Seahawks. All right, Jets, Raiders.
Give me the Raiders.
Oh, God.
Give me the Raiders.
Oh, Jesus. Well, I'm going to be completely fair, John. I've been saying it all week. I've been saying all week, John, that the Jets are going to win 12-9 and then the coaching staff will somehow find progress in Zach Wilson's poor play. And I think that's going to be the case. The Jets will play poorly, but they'll somehow play down to the competition and still win. I'm taking the Jets 12-9.
I'm done picking the Jets. Give me the Raiders. I've had
Okay, that's fair.
it.
That's fair. There's nothing wrong with that.
I've had it.
That's a plus. It's a +1 spread for Vegas. So
Broncos, Bills.
Bills.
Yeah, I didn't think that was such a.
Wasn't hard.
Yeah. All right, our favorite game, the Cowgirls and the G ladies.
So, you guys know how we have a sponsor on here, right? SeatGeek. They sponsor us and all that. Well, you also know on Sesame Street how, there would be letters that sponsor a certain show. Today's picks are sponsored by the letter T for Tank.
Oh, my God.
Let's go, baby. The Cowboys are going to win this game by 40.
I didn't think he would pull it out.
Let's bring on the Tank. Oh, wait, no.
He actually cut it out, though. I'm impressed.
No, I give him a lot of credit for that one.
Wait.
Oh, it's coming out. It came out. Yep. The capital T for Tank. Oh, God.
Tank Bowl, let's go.
The Tank session.
If the Cowgirls don't win by 60, it should be considered a loss. No. But I think that's it for the picks. Anyone got anything else?
Negative.
All right. Pats are still driving downfield. They're on the Indianapolis 24, by the way.
Come on, New
But,
England.
Come on,
go. Get my pick right.
Come on, New England. But final thoughts. I'll start with Luca.
Somebody just picked the Giants defense on somebody picked the Giants on Twitter to win 13-12, which is weird, but I'm gonna leave that go.
Are they on crack?
Yeah.
They must have been on high on methamphetamines or some shit. Final thoughts. Thank you everybody for coming out today. Obviously, we got our show tomorrow. I'll be in a very pissed off mood tomorrow if we don't win tonight.
But what if it's 12-9 Jets?
We're going to break down the positives and the negatives like we always do on the show.
Can we stop breaking down the positives?
No. We're going to be objective, John. We're going to be objective.
I don't want to be objective because I'm tired. You know what? If people are going to be be so positive, I'm going to be so negative about this team.
But what if the defense?
No. I'm just saying. We have to be realistic for objective analysis. That's it. We're realistic. We're going to give out our realistic takes.
Nobody's being positive about Zach Wilson.
What? No, I'm not.
No, did you listen to me? I said nobody's being
I was going to be positive about Zach Wilson.
No, I said nobody's going to be positive about Zach Wilson. But if the defense plays well, you have to give him credit.
If he plays like crap, I'm going to tell you he plays like crap. If he plays well, I'm going to tell you he plays well. I'm going to talk about what's sustainable, what's not sustainable. So we're going to be realistic. We're going to be objective on this show. And, that's what's going to happen.
If they lose again?
If they lose, I hope there's some sort of mutiny.
They are positive about the Jets as the defense. So also, I asked Luca this, and I'll go to John for final thoughts. But it's part of the final thoughts. John, what was I going to say? Would you take a 12-9 loss to the Raiders to bench Zach Wilson?
Does it guarantee the Jets make the playoffs?
Not necessarily.
I mean, no. Well, the issue is now these clowns didn't even offer Carson Wentz a contract.
They've doubled and tripled down.
That's right. They're not going to bench him. I'm not even going to get into the backup quarterback debate anymore because
we've said it so many times.
I've said my piece, and you know what? They want to lose. You know what? I'm going to pray for the firing of our GM and coach because that's a fireable offense.
John, in a normal, I'm just going to tell you right now, this is my wholehearted opinion. In a normal organization, they would be fired. This is the New York Jets who make built-in excuses.
All right, you know what? How about this, Luca? Mark my words. We're going back to the old me. I'm going to rip him. I'm going to simply rip them if they lose.
No, sure. But I'll tell you this, John. I have a task for you. Please, tomorrow, make a list of excuses as to why Zach should be.
Yeah, I'll make the wheel, but I'm simply going to rip those clown faces, okay?
Okay.
That's what they are. I'm going to rip them. So, guys, you heard it here first. The rant will come. I'm going to rip them. Rip them to shreds.
So, that's it for us here on the Rise and Rush podcast this morning. We hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Bring on the tank. Bring on the tank.
Tank for tea.
Tea for tank. But we appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow with the Boys in the Big Apple podcast. Tuesday with a Cowboys recap.
Hold up. Wait. Are you sure that tea is not for a Giants touchdown?
Yes.
Is that what he's really secretly doing?
You know, my final score prediction for that game was 40-8 on my podcast.
8 is really generous.
Well, yeah, when they're down like 33-0, they will score a touchdown, and they will go for 2, and then act like it means something.
What do you think? Can I ask? What do you think of the Pat Leonard report before you hand off?
I think it's nonsense.
Same.
I think it's nonsense. I don't think I don't think they're actually on the hot seat. It's all a tank. See, it's like letter T. It's an administered tank.
T for tank. T for tank.
T-A-N-K. Tank.
Gotta love the tank. At some point, I gotta get a thing that has like a Giants tank on it. But we appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.